Hi, Brittany here, hanging out at Blue Heron Mine 18 today, and I'm going to take a little bit of your time to talk about some invasive plant species that you can find within the park and the surrounding region. So, what are invasive plants and why are they invasive? And what is the difference between invasive species, weeds, and just non-native plants? And why should you actually care about these invasive species? And what can we do about them once you know they exist? What is an invasive plant? In the United States, we define a native plant as any plant that was present to the region prior to European settlement. These native plants have developed over hundreds or thousands of years in a particular region or ecosystem and have a long-standing relationship with other plants and animals. There are many plants that came post-settlement, and not all of them are considered invasive. In fact, only a relatively small percent of plants end up getting that title. So in order for a plant to be considered invasive, the plant has to be both non-native and able to establish in many locations, grow quickly, and spread to the point of disrupting plant communities or ecosystems. Why is it an invasive? Invasive plants are able to spread quickly for a variety of reasons. One is due in part to the fact that the insects and diseases that would normally keep them in check in their native lands are often absent or present in very low numbers in their new location. This allows the plants to grow unstinted. Because of this, invasive plants are then able to compete so successfully against native plants that they crowd out the competitors, creating a monoculture that discourages the growth of other plants under them and then uses up all the resources such as space, sunlight, nutrients, and water. These plants also limit the habitat and host plants for pollinating insects that would then be able to help plants in unaffected areas reproduce. Some invasive species can suppress the growth of native seedlings and disrupt the underground mutualisms of fungi with other plants using their allelopathic properties. Allelopathic properties are basically plants able to produce biochemicals that prevent the germination and growth of other species in the soil nearby. Eventually, this could end up affecting the way our forests look in the future, as tree seedlings will not be able to sprout and grow. Still yet, some of them just make a whole lot of fruit and spread rapidly that way. What is the difference between invasive species, weeds, and non-native plants? A weed is any plant that grows where you just don't want it to grow. It can be native or non-native. Think dandelions and violets in your yard. One is an introduced species from Europe and one is a native plant, but both are kind of pains for a lot of gardeners. On the other hand, a non-native plant is a plant that does not need human help to reproduce and maintain itself over time in an area where it's not native. Many of these plants are found primarily near areas of high human influence and are sometimes referred to as naturalized, meaning that they are naturally reproducing non-native plants that do not invade areas dominated by native vegetation. And as previously discussed, invasive plants are non-native plants that are able to spread and reproduce rapidly. Why does any of this matter, and why should you care? Well, aside from destruction of natural habitats, invasive species are one of the leading causes of species extinction and endangerment. With a few exceptions, a healthy plant community typically consists of multiple species across several components, such as grasses, herbaceous plants, shrubs, and trees. This community helps bolster a diverse and healthy ecosystem that is the base support for many of our beloved pollinators, songbirds, and even our favorite derpy-looking little salamanders. Healthy plant communities travel all the way up the food chain and help create the biodiversity that keeps our outdoors great. In an area where an invasive species grows so densely that virtually no sunlight hits the ground, few to no native species will be able to grow in that. In turn, that reduces the number of insects that would otherwise be present. So what does that mean? Well, where there are fewer bugs, there are fewer birds. And it just keeps going on from there. And if that's not enough to make you care, invasive species can even invade pasture lands and create hazards for the livestock that you may eat and rely upon every day. What can we do about them? This has just been a very brief introduction to invasive plant species that doesn't even cover invasive animals and insects. So, educate yourself. That's the first thing you can do. Educate yourself on what invasive species are and why it's so important for you to care. Then, sign up with your local green spaces and volunteer to help remove invasive species. Share this knowledge with your friends, family, and neighbors. Are you an avid gardener? Make sure that the plants that you use are not invasive and replace any invasive species in your yard that could escape to natural areas with native species. And yes, sorry mom, that includes that honeysuckle that has to go. Also, before and after hikes, dog walks, or horseback riding, check yourself, your gear, and your critters for any plant material that could be translocated to your next adventure. Unfortunately, many of these invasive species have been around for decades and are already widespread. But together with a whole lot of hard work and education, hopefully we can fight against these invasive species and help bolster our native biodiversity and once again have healthy ecosystems that we are able to be a part of.